Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. Today we're looking at, well, this is a little different.
Yeah, a bit of a twist.
It is. We're taking Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey, and we're going to see what kind of ethical and philosophical lessons we can pull out of it.
It's going to be interesting.
It is. It is. And you've got some really cool sources for this one.
I do, yeah. And I think they offer some really interesting lenses
Yeah.
to look at Baron's adventures.
Like everything from Sufi mysticism
Yeah. To modern secular ethics.
to pretty wide range.
It is.
Yeah.
But I think, all of these different traditions and schools of thought
Yeah.
have something to say about how we should live our lives, how we should treat each other, how we should make decisions.
Right. And the story itself has Baron going to all these, different societies.
Exactly. He encounters all these different
Underground, right.
underground societies, each with its own, kind of values and customs and challenges.
Like the Solonites.
Yeah, the Selenites, who Baron, let's just say, doesn't treat with the utmost respect.
Yeah, maybe not the best example of ethical behavior there.
Right, exactly. But that's where the learning begins, right?
Yeah.
Like, by applying these different ethical lenses, we can start to see, the nuances of his choices, maybe even see ourselves reflected in some of his actions.
See what we would do differently.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so where should we start with all of this?
Well, let's start with something that I think is very powerful and kind of speaks to the heart of a lot of this.
Okay.
Ubuntu.
Oh, I love Ubuntu.
It's this beautiful African philosophy
Yeah.
that emphasizes interconnectedness, and the core idea is I am because we are.
Yeah.
Highlighting the importance of community, our shared humanity.
Like we're all in this together.
We are.
Yeah, it just makes you realize how much our well-being is tied to the well-being of others.
Absolutely.
But then we look at how Baron interacts with, the rattlebrains and the micromen. And he's not exactly embracing the Ubuntu spirit there, is he?
No, he's not. He's much more focused on controlling them
Yeah.
than collaborating.
Right.
Imagine if instead of trying to exploit the Selenites for their labor,
Right.
Baron had approached them with respect, recognized their value, maybe sought to understand their culture a little bit more.
Like, hey, how can we work together on
Yeah.
this?
That's what Ubuntu is all about, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing our shared humanity and working together for the benefit of the community.
Well, that would have been a completely different story.
It would have been, yeah.
And it makes you think, how often do we miss opportunities for connection?
Yeah.
Because we're so focused on our own goals.
Right. It's this tension,
Yeah.
We all face it, this tension between our individual needs and the needs of the community.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like Baron, we fall short.
We do.
But I think by understanding Ubuntu, we can start to shift our perspective a little bit and see the world as this web of interconnected relationships.
Yeah. And actually, that ties in really well with our next framework, Native American and Indigenous wisdom.
Oh, absolutely.
It's all about that interconnectedness again, but with the natural world.
Yeah. Respect for all forms of life, recognizing that delicate balance, that ecosystem.
We're all part of it.
Yeah, we're not separate.
And the idea of stewardship.
Yes.
We have a responsibility to care for the natural world.
Yes.
And ensure its well-being for future generations.
Which is unfortunately where Baron kind of stumbles again, right? Because
he doesn't do so well with that.
No, he doesn't. His manipulation of the Selenites, it disrupts the balance of their underground environment.
He really does mess things up down there.
He does, yeah. He's so focused on his own ambitions, he doesn't stop to think about the consequences of his actions on this delicate ecosystem that he's a part of.
So, I guess the question for all of us listening, are we acting like Baron in a way?
Right. Are we prioritizing short-term gains over the long-term health of our planet? Are we being responsible stewards of the earth? Or are we, like Baron, kind of exploiting natural resources for our own benefit?
Right, without thinking about the
I'm
consequences.
not thinking about the consequences, yeah. Okay, so we've got Ubuntu, we've got Native American wisdom.
Yeah.
Let's travel back in time now, all the way to the Age of Enlightenment.
Ooh, a little time travel.
Yeah, with John Locke, Voltaire.
Right, these big thinkers.
Yeah, the whole idea of human dignity and equality.
It was a radical shift in thinking at the time.
It really was. Emphasizing reason.
Yeah.
Individual rights.
And absolutely.
The inherent worth of every human being.
Regardless of their background, their social status.
Yeah.
It challenged those traditional hierarchies, paved the way for modern concepts of human rights, social justice.
But it seems like Barron maybe missed the memo on that one, too.
He did. He seems to have skipped that class. Yeah, like he constantly belittles those who are different from him.
Yeah.
Especially like the micro men.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing their unique qualities, their potential,
Yeah. Yeah.
he just dismisses them, treats them as inferior.
Right. And, it makes you wonder, what if Barron, instead of viewing the micromen through this lens of superiority,
Right.
had approached them with curiosity and respect?
Yeah.
Maybe he could have learned from their unique perspective, gained a deeper understanding of the world around him.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a good reminder for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the people we perceive as different can teach us the most valuable lessons.
Totally. And it makes you think about our own biases, our assumptions.
We all have them.
Yeah, we all have blind spots, definitely.
Yeah, we do.
But maybe by embracing those Enlightenment ideals, reason, open-mindedness,
Absolutely.
we can at least try to work toward a more just and equitable world.
Right, yeah.
Okay, let's move from the Enlightenment to something a little more, more modern. Secular moral development, specifically Kohlberg stages.
Ah, Kohlberg.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's that idea that our moral reasoning, it's not like static.
It evolves, right?
Yeah, it evolves over time as we mature, as we experience the world.
It's like we start with this focus on self-interest, avoiding punishment, seeking rewards.
Yeah.
But ideally, as we grow, we move towards a more principled understanding of right and wrong, driven by this desire to do what's just and fair, even if it means personal sacrifice.
So where do you think Barron falls on the spectrum?
Well, based on his actions,
it
seems like he might still be stuck in those early stages. Constantly looking out for number one, often at the expense of others.
What if he paused for a second
Yeah.
and thought about the ethical implications of what he was doing?
Right, right. Like, what if he asked himself, what kind of person do I want to be?
Yeah.
What are my values?
Whoa. Yeah, deep questions.
It is. It is.
It makes you realize that every choice is an opportunity for moral growth.
Exactly. And Kohlberg reminds us, right, that this ethical development, it's a journey.
It's not a destination.
Not a destination. We all have the potential to evolve morally.
Right.
But it takes conscious effort.
Yeah.
Self-reflection and that willingness to challenge our own assumptions.
Okay, let's switch gears again.
Okay.
Let's talk about a very specific ethical framework.
Yeah.
Utilitarianism. The classic greatest good for the greatest number.
The classic, right.
Yeah.
Maximizing happiness, minimizing suffering.
Yeah. Sounds pretty straightforward, right?
It does. It does. It's very appealing to a lot of people, very practical.
But as we've seen with Barron, putting it into practice, it can get kind of tricky.
It can.
He's acting in his own self-interest.
Yeah.
Completely disregarding the well-being of those around him.
The Sullenites, the rattlebrains.
Yeah, exactly. A true utilitarian would probably have some issues with that.
Absolutely. Like, imagine if Barron had stopped to consider the overall impact of his actions on the Sullenite community, for example. Like, could he have achieved his goals while also minimizing their suffering?
Yeah.
Or would prioritizing their well-being have required him to make completely different choices?
It's those trade-offs, right, that we all have to think about.
Exactly. And that's where it gets complex.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to determine what will actually lead to the greatest good for the greatest number.
Right, right.
And sometimes there are really difficult choices to be made.
Okay. Ready for a framework that really brings empathy to the forefront.
Yeah, I'm always ready for empathy.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
Feminist ethics of care.
Okay, yeah.
It's all about nurturing relationships.
Yes.
Responding to the needs of others.
Especially those who are vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what really sets it apart, I think, is this focus on understanding the context of ethical dilemmas.
Absolutely.
Instead of relying on, like, abstract rules or principles.
Yeah.
It's about looking at the specific needs.
Right.
The vulnerabilities of the people around us.
The actual lived experiences of the people involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barron, well...
Not exactly a poster child for the ethics of care.
No, not really. He repeatedly exploits the Sullenites.
He does.
Takes advantage of their labor and their resources.
Yeah.
Without a shred of concern for their well-being.
It's a classic example, unfortunately, of how power dynamics can influence ethical choices.
Right. Like, do we use our power to dominate?
Yeah.
Or do we use it to care for others?
To empower them, to help them.
Especially those who are most vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Hmm. That's a really big question.
It is, yeah. It makes you think, how do we wield power in our own lives?
Yeah. And what responsibility comes with that?
Absolutely.
Lots to think about. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our ethical deep dive into Barron Trump's marvelous underground journey.
It's been quite a journey so far,
It has.
exploring all these different ethical frameworks and how they apply to Barron's adventures.
Yeah, and I think, each framework really reveals something new
It does.
about his choices and offers insights that we can, take into our own lives.
Totally. And speaking of timeless wisdom, let's dive into Stoicism.
Oh, Stoicism, yeah.
This philosophy that's all about, like, finding inner peace.
Amidst chaos, yeah.
Amidst all the craziness of life.
Exactly. It emphasizes focusing on what we can control.
Right?
Our thoughts, our actions, our reactions.
Right.
And accepting what we can't.
It's like a mental toolkit
It is, yeah.
for navigating all the challenges
For sure.
with grace and strength.
It's about virtue, wisdom, emotional resilience.
But if we look at Barron, he's not exactly the poster child for Stoicism.
He's not, is he?
Like, remember how he totally loses his cool with the rattlebrains? Lets frustration and impatience get the better of him.
Imagine if Barron, instead of reacting impulsively,
Yeah.
had applied that Stoic practice of premeditation of evils.
Premeditation of what?
Of evils. It's like, mentally preparing for potential challenges.
Oh, okay.
So, maybe by mentally preparing himself for those potential challenges,
Okay.
he could have approached the rattlebrains with more composure.
Yeah, maybe a little more level-headed.
Right, and maybe found a more peaceful resolution.
Right, because Stoicism isn't about, like, suppressing emotions, right?
No, not at all. It's about managing them effectively.
Oh.
Choosing a wise and virtuous response, even when we're faced with, really difficult situations.
It's about making the choice.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes you think about how often we just let those external events kind of control us.
Right, dictate our emotional state.
Yeah.
But Stoicism reminds us
We have the power.
we do.
Yeah, we have the power to choose.
We have that power.
Okay, let's switch gears now and explore an ethical framework that, well, might seem a bit unexpected. Japanese Zen Buddhism.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, Zen emphasizes non-attachment,
Okay.
mindfulness,
Yeah.
and living in the present moment.
Being present.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's about finding inner peace through practices like meditation, mindful living,
Right. Being aware of your thoughts and feelings, your surroundings,
letting go of clinging,
to desires.
to outcomes, to, like, even our sense of self.
That's a tall order.
It is. It's
Yeah.
about finding freedom from that constant chatter of the mind.
Yeah.
And just experiencing the world with, like, this sense of open awareness.
Right. Being present in each moment.
But Barron, well, he seems pretty attached to his goals,
He does, yeah.
to the point of, exploiting others to achieve them.
He's very goal-oriented.
Yeah, what if instead of fixating on the future,
Right.
he just paused
Yeah.
to appreciate the present moment?
Right. To just be there.
Yeah, to be there in that moment.
In the moment.
The beauty of the underground world,
Yeah.
Maybe he would discover a different kind of fulfillment,
Right.
one that's not based on external achievements, but on that inner peace.
It's a powerful idea.
It is. That sometimes letting go of those attachments
Yeah.
can actually lead to greater happiness and fulfillment.
Oh, yeah. It's counterintuitive, but it's true.
It is. Okay, let's revisit Islamic Sufi mysticism,
Okay.
which we touched on a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
It emphasizes Ihsan.
Ihsan. Doing what is beautiful.
Yeah, it's about striving for excellence,
In all aspects of life.
acting with virtue, compassion, kindness.
Aligning our actions with the divine will.
Beautiful concept.
It is.
But it's kind of hard to see the beauty
Yeah.
in how Barron treats the Solonites.
Yeah. Not a lot of Ihsan there.
Not really.
Yeah.
Exploiting their labor for his own gain.
Right. And it's a reminder, I think, that ethical choices are complex.
They are.
And our actions can have unintended consequences.
Yeah. Maybe if Barron had considered Ihsan,
Right.
he would recognize the inherent dignity of the Solonites.
Yeah. And sought a more equitable arrangement.
It makes you think about intentionality.
Absolutely.
Are we acting from a place of selfishness or a place of genuine care for others?
Right. What's motivating us?
Yeah. And Sufi mysticism reminds us
Yeah.
it's not just about achieving those external goals. It's about cultivating that inner beauty and spiritual growth.
Right. It's about the journey, not just the destination.
Okay, let's bring it back to the big picture.
Okay.
Environmental ethics.
Yes.
This framework that focuses on our responsibility.
To protect the natural world.
Yeah, to ensure a sustainable future for all those generations to come.
Stewardship, right?
Yes, stewardship. And Barron's actions, especially his manipulation of the Solonites and their underground environment,
Yeah,
they're a stark contrast to this principle of environmental stewardship.
they are, yeah. What if Barron, instead of viewing the Selenites and their resources as something to exploit, had approached them with respect,
Yeah.
the desire to learn from their sustainable practices?
Like, hey, how are you guys doing this? This is amazing.
Yeah. Maybe he could have discovered new ways to achieve his goals while also protecting the balance of the underground ecosystem.
Right, right.
It's a reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
That environmental ethics aren't just about these abstract principles.
Yeah.
They're about concrete choices.
Choices we make every day.
Every day, yeah.
Like, are we consuming responsibly?
Right. Right.
Are we supporting businesses that are prioritizing sustainability?
Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves.
Yeah. Are we doing our part to protect this planet
Yeah.
for future generations?
For our kids and grandkids, yeah.
Good questions.
They are, yeah.
Okay, let's dive back into secular moral development, specifically Kohlberg's stages.
Back to Kohlberg.
Yeah, which we discussed earlier. Remember this theory that suggests that our moral reasoning evolves over time,
It does. Yeah.
starting with self-interest and hopefully progressing towards a more principled understanding of right and wrong.
It's like climbing a ladder, with each rung representing a more sophisticated level of moral reasoning.
Love that analogy.
Yeah. At the lower levels, we're motivated by avoiding punishment or seeking rewards.
Right, just trying to stay out of trouble.
Exactly. But as we mature, we begin to internalize ethical principles
Yeah,
and act based on a sense of justice and fairness.
even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard, even when it requires personal sacrifice.
So where's Barron on this ladder?
Well, based on his actions, it seems like he's still navigating those lower rungs, right?
Yeah.
Often driven by self-preservation,
Mm-hmm.
seeking power and control,
Yeah.
even if it means exploiting or harming others.
What if instead of viewing the other societies as obstacles or resources to exploit, he approached them with a sense of fairness,
Yeah,
empathy?
that's the key.
Yeah.
What if he asked himself, like, how would I feel if someone treated me this way?
Yeah.
What kind of world do I want to live in where people use each other or where they cooperate and support each other?
Powerful questions. It's about stepping outside of our own limited perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. And considering the needs and perspectives of others.
Exactly. And Kohlberg's stages remind us,
Yeah.
that moral growth is a journey, not a destination.
Not a destination.
We all have the potential to evolve ethically,
We do?
but it takes conscious effort, self-reflection, and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions.
And speaking of challenging assumptions,
Yeah.
let's explore a framework that really pushes us to expand our moral compass. Feminist ethics of care.
A framework that's all about empathy, care, relationships.
Yes, exactly. It emphasizes the importance of nurturing those relationships, responding to the needs of others.
Recognizing the interconnectedness of our lives.
Yeah, it's about moving beyond those abstract principles and focusing on the lived experiences of individuals.
Especially those who are often marginalized or overlooked.
Right, giving voice to those who are often silenced.
Absolutely.
And it's about recognizing that our ethical obligations extend beyond just following rules or maximizing benefits.
It's about something deeper.
Yeah, it's about cultivating that deep sense of empathy and compassion
Yeah.
and acting in ways that promote caring and well-being for ourselves and others.
And Barron, well, let's just say,
Not exactly a shining example.
not quite. His treatment of the Solonites, the rattlebrains, the micromen,
Yeah.
it's all about using them for his own gain.
Yeah.
Without any real concern for their well-being or the impact of his actions on their lives.
What if he approached these societies with a different mindset?
Yeah, what if...
Instead of viewing them as obstacles to overcome or resources to exploit,
Yeah,
he saw them as individuals.
right, with their own needs and desires and vulnerabilities.
Yeah, like real people.
Exactly.
What if he had asked himself, how can I contribute to the well-being of this community?
Yeah.
How can I use my power to help rather than harm?
Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves.
Right. It's a fundamental shift
It is.
from seeing others as means to an end to seeing them as ends in themselves.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of part 2 of our ethical deep dive. We've explored so much ground, but there's still more to uncover. Join us for part 3, where we'll wrap things up and leave you with some final thoughts to ponder. Welcome back. It's the final part of our ethical deep dive into Barron Trump's marvelous underground journey.
We've really gone through a lot.
We have. from ancient philosophy to modern ethical frameworks.
It's amazing to see how much depth and meaning we can find when we
Yeah.
look at a story through all these different lenses.
It's not just about Baron and his adventures, though, right?
No, absolutely not. It's about us.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing those same ethical dilemmas in our own lives, in the choices we make every single day.
Exactly. So let's revisit one of the frameworks we talked about earlier, Kohlberg's stages of moral development.
Right. The idea that our moral reasoning evolves over time
From a self-centered focus,
to a more principled understanding of right and wrong.
like we're all on this moral ladder constantly climbing.
Sometimes slipping, hopefully always striving for that next level.
Where do you think Baron lands on this ladder?
Well, based on his actions, it seems like he's still navigating those lower rungs, often driven by self-interest and a desire for power.
Not exactly a moral role model, is he?
Not quite.
But that's what's so interesting about this whole exercise, right?
Exactly.
By looking at Baron's shortcomings, we can learn from his mistakes.
Right, and hopefully avoid making those same mistakes in our own lives.
All right, let's explore a framework that really emphasizes empathy and interconnectedness, feminist ethics of care.
This approach challenges us to move beyond those abstract rules and principles,
To really focus on the lived experiences of individuals.
especially those who are often marginalized or overlooked.
It's about recognizing those relationships, understanding the needs of others, and acting with compassion and care.
Imagine if Baron, instead of manipulating and exploiting the Selenites, had approached them with a genuine desire to understand their needs and perspectives. What if he had considered the impact of his actions on their lives and well-being?
It would have been a completely different story.
Right. It's a reminder that our choices have consequences,
For sure.
not just for ourselves, but for the people around us.
Yeah, feminist ethics of care encourages us to act with empathy and responsibility.
Recognizing that we're all interconnected
Yeah.
and that our actions can have a profound impact on the lives of others.
Okay, let's journey back to ancient Greece for a moment and tap into the wisdom of Stoicism.
Stoicism.
This philosophy is all about finding inner peace amidst the craziness of life.
Right. It teaches us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and reactions, and to accept what we can't.
It's about practicing virtue, resilience, finding that freedom within ourselves, regardless of our external circumstances.
What if Baron, instead of reacting impulsively to all the challenges he faced, had applied these stoic principles of self-control and acceptance?
Maybe he could have navigated his underground journey with a little more grace and composure.
Perhaps.
It really makes you think about how often we let those external events just control us.
Right. Stoicism reminds us that we have the power to choose our response,
We have the power.
to cultivate inner peace, even when everything around us feels chaotic and turbulent.
A timeless philosophy.
Absolutely, just as relevant today as it was centuries ago.
Okay, ready for our final ethical exploration.
Always.
Let's turn to Japanese Zen Buddhism. This tradition that emphasizes non-attachment, mindfulness, living in the present moment.
Zen Buddhism invites us to let go of clinging
Yeah.
to desires, outcomes, even our sense of self.
It's about cultivating a deep awareness of the here and now,
Right.
experiencing life with a sense of openness, acceptance.
Free from that constant chatter of the mind.
What if Baron, instead of being so focused on his goals and ambitions, had stopped to just appreciate the beauty and wonder of everything around him?
Right. What if he had approached the unique societies he encountered with a sense of curiosity, eager to learn from their wisdom?
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes letting go of our attachments can actually lead to greater happiness.
Greater fulfillment.
Zen Buddhism encourages us to find joy in the simple things, to cultivate gratitude, and to act with kindness.
Towards all beings.
And on that note of Zen wisdom, it's time for us to wrap up this incredible ethical adventure.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. From ancient philosophies to modern frameworks, I feel like we've gained a whole new perspective on Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey.
It's amazing what we can uncover when we examine a story through all these different lenses.
It's like we've been on this treasure hunt,
Yeah.
unearthing insights and wisdom along the way.
And it's not just about understanding the story, it's about taking those insights and applying them to our own lives.
Right, becoming more aware of our choices and their impact.
On ourselves and the world around us.
So, as you continue on your own marvelous journeys,
Keep these ethical frameworks in mind.
ask yourself, what would Ubuntu look like in this situation?
How can I act with stoic virtue?
What would it mean to approach this with the compassion of feminist ethics of care?
Let these frameworks guide you
Yeah, help you navigate those ethical dilemmas.
and ultimately lead you toward a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
So what are your takeaways from our deep dive? How will you apply these ethical insights to your own life?
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Share them with us on social media or send us an email.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds open.